sprain in that game and has been out since. And that puts a lot on the plate of players like Spencer Dinwiddie, who just came in, who finds Marshall for the corner three.
You see the Mavs just play differently without Luka on the floor. He's a guy who's high usage rate, the ball's in his hands. When he's not on the floor, that ball is moving, it's popping, multiple players getting involved in action.
A white basketball player. That's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration. What you just heard is the music, actual conversation happening right now in WNBA fan spaces. Black fans are being told they cannot support Caitlin Clark. Not shouldn't, cannot. And if you think this is just some fringe opinion on social media, you're about to see how deep this divide really goes.
Even more specifically, because there's things in his game maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. I mean, Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is, like, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get his defender to move where he wants him to go, and he takes up that space, and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. Like, I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me. So I think, obviously, he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double. So he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not that easy.
Read the room. That's the message being sent to LeBron James, to RG3, to any black male fan who dares to praise Caitlin Clark's game. Not her politics, not her personal life, her basketball. And the argument being made is that there's a larger issue at hand, that Angel Reese has been attacked for 3 years, and therefore praising Clark right now is somehow betraying black women in the league. Let's break down why this argument is not just flawed, it's actively damaging to the sport.
Brain in that game and has been out since. And that puts a lot on the plate of players like Spencer Dinwiddie, who just came in, who finds Marshall for the corner three.
You see the Mavs just play differently without Luka on the floor. He's a guy who's high usage rate, the ball's in his hands. When he's not on the floor, that ball is moving, it's popping, multiple players getting involved in action, and everyone's stepping up.
Lowered usage rate for him this year. A wrist sprain in that game.
LeBron James tweeted, "Good game after watching Clark play." That's it. No comparison to other players. No commentary on race. Just acknowledgement of an impressive performance. And the response was immediate backlash, claiming he wasn't reading the room, that he should have stayed silent, because Angel Reese deserves better. Here's what makes that response so problematic.
She was asked about, hey, what's the player that you like? What play style can you relate to? That sort of thing. And she dropped a big fat Luka-Doncic on us. Now, I've said Steph Curry mixed with Larry Bird, but okay, I can get where she's coming from. She's being asked about, a more present-day kind of player. Of course, Steph is still active. But Luka is, of course, has that triple-double.
Think about what's actually being suggested here. Black fans should watch WNBA games in secret. They should hide their appreciation for certain players. They need to check who's around before pulling up Caitlin Clark highlights on their phone. This isn't about protecting anyone. This is about policing fandom based on skin color. And the person making this argument even admits they don't believe the claims about Angel Reese hating Clark are true, but says it doesn't matter because there's a larger issue. That's where this entire argument falls apart.
Just the other night. And boy, it got, my boy Ben Daniel brought this up, and I was like, that's right. I think I did a video on that when it happened. And it was Stephanie White's take on Luka-Doncic being gone from the Mavericks. I mean, a trade that has been overwhelmingly destroyed. It's considered one of the worst trades in the history of all sports, outside of Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. Let's just get to this. Once again, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still.
The comparison to relationship dynamics between men and women. The claim that this is why women would rather encounter a bear than a man in the woods. We've gone from discussing basketball performance to making sweeping statements about gender relations. This is exactly the problem. The WNBA finally has mainstream attention, record viewership, genuine excitement about the product on the court, and instead of celebrating that, we're being told that appreciating the wrong player makes you a bad person.
Back to something we've been saying for a while. If you watch us content creators and not a bunch of sports media that's blowing smoke up your ass about Stephanie White, we've said Stephanie White would prefer to play basketball games, in our opinion, either without Caitlin Clark or with Caitlin Clark in a more diminished kind of non-superstar kind of role. Well, that's not what any of us want to see. I mean, can we not sign up for that?
Here's the reality that nobody wants to acknowledge. When you ask Black NBA fans who the best player in the league is right now, the overwhelming answer is Nikola Jokic, a white player from Serbia, 3-time MVP. Nobody questions that. Nobody says Black fans can't appreciate his game because there are Black players who deserve more attention. Music. When Luka was drafted, Black fans celebrated. When the Mavericks traded him, everyone criticized that decision regardless of Luka's race. Cooper Flagg is projected to be the #1 pick in the upcoming draft. The first American-born white player to go first overall since and you know what the response has been from Black fans. Excitement about his game.
When Caitlin Clark is, lack of a better way of putting it, hitting threes, hitting shots, and distributing the ball in a dynamic manner. She's a dynamic basketball player. But if you gave the Indiana Fever head coach truth serum, would she truly feel that the same?
This is why so many male sports fans avoid women's sports entirely. Not because of the quality of play, not because they don't think women athletes deserve recognition, but because they don't want to navigate this minefield where appreciating one player means you're attacking another, where your fandom gets analyzed through a political lens, where you can't just talk about the game the way you would in a barber shop. You can't just say someone's game is trash or someone else is incredible without it becoming a referendum on your values.
That are ate up with the fact that Caitlin Clark is not really her. So you want to just sell me on the fact that Stephanie White's not one of them? Well, her agenda has told us she's absolutely one of them. I found this interesting. When Ben Daniel did a video about it, I said, oh, shit. That's right. I was watching that last night. I'm going to talk about that too. Because it just kind of shows you when there's trouble coming down the road, you start seeing signs. You start seeing key indicators. This is a blatant, you can audibly hear and see from Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, they got a difference of philosophy. That's an issue. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out.
And here's what's particularly frustrating. The WNBA has spent decades fighting for equality, equal pay, equal media coverage, equal respect for the product. And now that attention is finally arriving, the response is to tell fans they're consuming it wrong, that their appreciation is problematic, that they need to check their motivations before expressing enthusiasm. You wanted mainstream sports culture to embrace women's basketball. Well, mainstream sports culture is about debating who's better. Music, having favorite players getting excited about exceptional talent regardless of demographics.
That are ate up with the fact that Caitlin Clark is not really her. So you want to just sell me on the fact that Stephanie White's not one of them? Well, her agenda has told us she's absolutely one of them. I found this interesting. When Ben Daniel did a video about it, I said, oh, shit. That's right. I was watching that last night. I'm going to talk about that too. Because it just kind of shows you when there's trouble coming down the road, you start seeing signs. You start seeing key indicators. This is a blatant, you can audibly hear and see from Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White, they got a difference of philosophy. That's an issue. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out.